Yeah. Now let me welcome you to my small town. Big trucks and they all big bucks on the wall. Country folks all around. How I was raised, 808 drums quake and they shake that box. 88. And the dope boys.
Alrighty. Well, it's almost 5 o'clock now. A lot later start than I meant to get. I meant to be on this about 2 hours ago or more. Yeah, about 2:30, 3 o'clock was when I wanted to get on this. But went to Harbor Freight today to get the 2,000-pound engine stand, and I already have the cherry pickers in the back of the Jeep. But turn the Sonoma off and put the keys in the passenger seat, which I usually don't do. I usually keep the keys in ignition until I get out. But anyway, setting the Sonoma a couple of minutes to get all my coupons ready. I had a coupon book, and there was one coupon in there I needed, and the other coupons were via email. I thought I could all get them via email, which is why it took so long. But I got out of the truck, locked the door, and I reached down right when I closed the door. I was like, I just didn't do that. Reached down to my belt and I didn't have my keys, and yeah, they were in the passenger seat. So yeah, at least I have AAA. That was, called AAA. It took them an hour, but I mean that gave me enough time to go inside, get the engine stand. I got an AC vacuum pump because I need a. It's hot now, and it's getting about 70, 80 degrees, and a lot of humidity the past week, so I need to get the AC and the Sonoma going. I need to find the leaks. But anyway, so I called AAA. They got there about 45 minutes after I called. So it wasn't too bad, but that was about an hour wasted. But yeah, I got the engine stand, and then I went to Tractor Supply and got some bolts for the engine stand, but also for the back of the block, because the top of the block has two E12 sockets, inverted torque sockets, and I want to change those to bolts like I did on my green Jeep. But yeah, so it's time to get this thing out of here, and also get my engine from over there to over here on the concrete so I can put it on the engine stand. One thing I'm going to do while the engine's out, I'm obviously going to swap all the Rinex stuff that I need from this one to that 96 motor. I'm also going to take the alternator and put the alternator up top. Oh yeah, this alternator bracket is quite a bit different than the Renix brackets are different than the other brackets, but I think I can make it work. Yeah, I can put my alternator up top. For right now, I'm going to seal off the AC system and not put the compressor back on. Maybe, it depends on how trigger happy I get, because I don't know if this system even works. I don't know if the system even works. That's actually something I can do. I can find the low pressure switch, which I think is right there. I can get the low pressure switch, and I should be able to jump the low pressure switch, and the compressor should cut on. If the compressor cuts on, I'm good, and I'll probably try to adapt it, but probably not right now. Good thing is the way these lines are designed, you can have these curved either way. So even if I put the compressor underneath, I can still take the AC lines, bend the AC lines where I need to bend them, and put them down. The only thing you got to worry with doing that is you're usually going to have to move this accumulator, dryer, receiver dryer, whichever one it is on the system. Depends on what side of the system it's on. Which that shouldn't be too hard. I watched Nick and Tom Films and all his Jeep videos, and his Renix videos are now becoming helpful now that I have a Renix. But yeah, when he did his alternator swap or whatever, he just moved this just a little bit over. But yeah, anyway, I'm rambling. It's 5 minutes. This is going to be part of an engine swap. If I go ahead and build that, then that's going to be a separate video. And when I build the engine crane, that's going to be another video. But I think right now I'm just going to get at least started on this since I have such a late start. I'm going to get as much of this done as I can get done. Before I, actually need to start really considering on getting all the stuff over here. But yeah. So let me get going and start removing stuff off of this, and I'll be back. Okay, I just recorded something, but it didn't record apparently. I started removing started removing stuff for the motor. I took the battery out. Took all these 8mm off, removed the electric fan. I got this loose. And then you don't have to take the whole... I'm going to take the header panel off because it's easier to take the header panel off to remove the motor. I'm going to take the hood off anyway. But it's going to be easier to remove the header panel, the condenser, and the radiator. And that way you can just lift the motor a little bit and then pull it out the front. If you don't do that, you're going to have to lift the motor way up. And even if you lift it way up, you still got to deal with the space you got right here. And you're probably going to mar up your radiator. So I'm just going to remove this whole header panel, condenser, radiator thing. I'm just going to remove everything in the front so I can just lift it up and pull it out front. That way I don't risk breaking the fiberglass or punching a hole in the radiator. Which I'm going to change the radiator anyway because I'm going to put a closed system in. I'm going to put the newer system in. I forget if it's open or closed. This system is set up like a lot of newer vehicles. That is actually a pressurized overflow bottle. So this is actually set up like most new vehicles are. But I'm going to set it up like the newer Cherokees are, and it has the overflow bottle, which is not pressurized. And you don't have to worry about these weird T lines and all these bull crap. So, but yeah, take the header panel off. There is, surprisingly, Chrysler and the Infinite Wisdom, 11mm all across the top nuts. Then there's screws holding these headlight buckets in, or headlight bezels in. And usually at the bottom there's going to be a T20. One side had a T20, one side didn't. And then there's 13mm here and here on both sides. Now, I was like, okay, I'm just going to pull it off. Nope. Again, Chrysler and Infinite Wisdom put a metal bracket right here. So you can see right there. So I was like, okay, 8mm, nope, too big. 1/4 inch, nope, too small. Luckily I have these cobalt, I'll call them ignition wrenches. They're really tiny. There's both the standard and a metric set that I got with my standard and metric wrench set. It is a 9/32. Again, Chrysler and their Infinite Wisdom. So, yeah. I'm just going to slowly and surely take this off and then start pulling the header panel all the way off. Obviously, I have to disconnect the headlights. I don't think these have a quick disconnect that I can pull off for the for the lighting assembly in the front. I don't think there's a quick disconnect. If there is, then I'm going to remove it. If there's not, then I'll have to just unplug everything. But yeah, I'm going to get the header panel off and then remove the condenser and the radiator. Okay, they do have, here's the disconnect for all the wiring, and ooh, that's nasty. That is very green. You gotta spray that off with electrical cleaner. But here's the connector down here. It's just got a tab on each side. You pull out a tab here and a tab here. You spread it apart and you pull it down. Now, this whole thing should come out. And there's your header panel. There's your header panel. And now you have access to everything in the front. And here's that metal bracket I was telling you about. I'm not gonna put that back on. And here is, if you had a overhead console, this is where your temperature sensor for your overhead console would clip into, as an FYI. Anyway, let me probably remove this upper piece right here. Looks like 10 millimeters, if not 11 millimeters again. I'll let you know after I get it off. Looks like 2 bolts there. Should be 2 bolts, but there's not. There's another bolt there, and there's another bolt there, and that should just pull off. That's your upper radiator, supports your radiator and condenser. And then I should be able to, after that, should be able to just pull the fan shroud out. And I'll put that one on my green Jeep, because one of my green Jeeps busted. Because I'm going all electric on this one, and also going electric on those. Yeah. I've been rambling again, so let me get this off, and then I'll continue from there.
Why don't you just go home? 'Cause you drown.
Alrighty. Yeah, I took that upper piece off, and I had a little trouble getting this off. This is the upper transcooler line, and it's still hot. See, I have the torch out. Started using my wrench, and I didn't just yank on it. I started spinning it. The line was spinning with it. Going down, spinning with it. Up, down, down. I'm still spinning with it. So I got the torch. Well, first I put some, that's carb cleaner, but I put some carb cleaner on it. Sprayed it in there in the end of it. And, tried to move it. It didn't really do anything, let it sit. Heated it up for about a minute and a half with the propane. Still turned it. Didn't seem like it was doing anything, but then finally I noticed it started moving, so I just kept on working it, and then finally it started moving. So, yeah, that's that's one thing you need to be wary of, especially if you've been through mud. Stuff gets in there, plus it's a 91. It's 28 years old. Yeah, 28 years old in June. 28, it'll be 28 years old in June. But, yeah. So, just, don't go spinning this thing off willy-nilly and snap your transcooler line, because transcooler lines, they're not too expensive. I've put 3 sets on my 2000 on my green Jeep, because I smashed one set. Actually, all 3 of them I smashed. The upper control arm came up, smacked it against the block, punctured a hole in it the first time. Second time, again, off-road, did something stupid. It smacked it. It didn't puncture it, but it did kink it, so I replaced it again. But anyway, that's a side note. Just remember on these lines, don't just go ripping them off, especially with ones these old. The 90s and the 2000s, they're routed and their ends are different. So, I think these are still available. They should still be available, but a lot of the stuff on this isn't. A lot of the AC stuff's not available for the Renexes. But I'm getting sidetracked again. There's a connector for this temperature sensor in the radiator. It goes over here. I disconnected it. Now all I got to do is disconnect this lower line. I already disconnected the radiator hoses. Don't worry, it's practically 99% water, so I just let it drain out. Water and rust is what it is. So after that, I got to worry about these AC lines, which I think I'm just going to take the AC lines off of their respective AC components. Maybe. I might take them off here, but that looks crusty. That looks really crusty. We shall see. But, yeah. I'll be back. Alright. Pile of parts is growing. Went ahead and took the whole thing off. Both radiator hoses. This transcooler line right here, just pinch the tab that I'll show you in a minute. You already know how to take that off. Or I showed you how to take that off. I disconnected this harness too. This plugs in right here. This goes into this little relay box, and this goes into the stud on the relay box. But there's the France wrap. Here's a little quick disconnect. You just pinch down, pull. Already took that off. This I took off the back of the compressor. I just took it, broke it loose, and it spinned off fine. I was going to take this piece off of this receiver dryer, but I tried to take it off, and it would not budge. And then I was like, well, I'll just get where I can get better grip on it. And I was like, you know what? I can just pull this off here. That's what I did. I pulled this line off of this here, which is this little small line right here. I just took that, broke it loose, and there's where the other line goes. And then all I had to do was pick it up, move it back a little bit, pick it up, pull the whole thing this way to where that bend on that big line could come up, and then I could pull it up and pull it out. So now I can get to everything I need to now. Still gotta take the air box out. Take these cooling lines off. Take all the electronics. Pretty much I'm going to have to take all the electronics and move them out of the way. I want to try to keep, as much stuff on the motor as I can, but at the same time, the electronics, I kind of want to keep the wiring. I mean, I need to move that away because there's not just a main engine quick disconnect that I can take off. Like in some new vehicles, you can just, go over to the computer or whatever and take it off. On the newer models where the computer's right here, I'm pretty sure you can do that. On this one, I believe the computer is either where the trans computer is, behind the glove box, or glove box kick panel, or it's on the driver's side. I don't know. I don't exactly know where it is on the Renexes. I'm not familiar with the Renexes. But yeah, now I'm just going to slowly and surely, I'm definitely taking I don't have to take the fan off. I'm not worried about this block. I'm worried about the accessories and stuff, but I can take the fan and crap off once I get the engine out. Try to pull it as a complete set as I can, and then swap stuff over to the high output block. Like I said, I don't know how much how much variant I'm going to have to do. I'll show along the way on what I swap over and what I need to swap over. The electronics and stuff, practically I'm going to have to swap over most of that, because the Rinex is specific in certain places. Yeah, I'm probably going to have to swap the valve cover too. Actually, I don't think I have to, as long as I can get this similar. But, yeah. Time to get the rest of the way pulling. Alrighty, don't really 100% remember where I left off, but this whole wiring harness right here that goes across the top is now loose. I got all the injectors labeled. I unplugged the throttle position sensor, and the TPMS I had to cut, I just removed because my buddy replaced this, and it's got two plugs on it, but this plug right here is different, so he just cut it and wired it. I don't know how. I think the plug might have actually been broken. I don't know, but he cut and spliced it, so I just took it off. Down at the side of the block, you're going to have your oxygen sensor, your temperature sensor, and this is the same connector as your injectors. There's a little metal clip around it that you gotta pop kind of out and pull it. This is the NOx sensor, and I just pulled it, wiggling it back and forth, because sometimes you can get these, if you wiggle them back and forth enough, you can just get them to pop off. Well, I broke the NOx sensor, so I have to pick me up a NOx sensor. But, all that's removed. Air box is removed. Already removed the battery box. And, yeah. It's getting a little dark under here. I need to get one of those LED shop lights we got and stick it up here so I got some light. But, top wire, pretty much all this wiring harness is done. I have the throttle plate, induction hose off. All of the throttle cables and stuff I have pulled out of their slots. There's just a clip on both sides. You have to depress and pull those out. What else? I think so far that's about it. honestly, next I'm probably going to remove the hood, so I can get that shop light and stick it right across there. So I got light shining down here. It's not dark yet, but it's 7:20. It'll get dark pretty soon. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to remove the hood. I'll just cut the light bar wires, or cut the positive light bar wire. I'll fix that later. To be honest, I'm probably not going to put that light bar back on. I'm probably going to take the light bar I got on my Jeep down there and mount it up on the roof on this one because I have more time. I'm not like, oh crap, we're going to ride this weekend, I need to get this light bar on at the day before or whatever. So, yeah. This wiring, I can just move the wiring out of the way and do that. I'm going to try to delete the EGR when I do the EGR. Don't know how I'm going to do that yet, but I'm going to try to delete it. Yeah, this exhaust manifold is actually leaking, I think. Doesn't look like it's leaking, but it's got a one of the bolts missing. So that's going to be interesting. But, oops. But, yeah. So, that should be all caught up, and I will take the hood off, which is just 13 millimeters, both sides, and I'll obviously disconnect the cable from there, which you just slip the cable up. There's a notch right there. You slip the cable up, then you go around here, and the cable actually has a barrel that goes straight up and down, and the wire connects to the side of it. You line that up with a little notch, and you push it up, and it comes right out. So, yeah, I'll be back. And there we go. Ready for darkness. It's still pretty daylight out here, but under these tarps it's not. I just got one of the spare LED shop lights that with the pull string that we got for the garage that we just haven't put up yet. And just put some zip ties around the bars. There's already extension cord out here that's usually on the tractor for the battery tender. So I just got the wire running over there to the extension cord, and now I got plenty of light. And yep, I took the hood off. So that should be good. As long as it doesn't rain, I can keep that out here. But if it, you know, while I'm not using it, but when it rains, I'll have to take that out because that's where the seam of the tarp is. So, so yeah, wiring harness, move that out of the way, and up next, let's see, there's still a crap ton of vacuum lines. I want to delete as much of this vacuum crap as I can, because a lot of it's emissions related, so I mean, it's not useful. Plus, I'm not going to use the airbox. I plan to actually put a snorkel on it before, before June 16th when I need it running. So I plan on getting the little adapter plate for here that adapts this to round, and then run the little Spectra tube filter. Run that over here, then go straight out the side right here. Go out, go over, go up, and then besides having a snorkel cap that's usually like this, I'm going to get the one that's like a dust bowl at the top, and it's clear, so it's got to go up and then back down. That way I have protection against the rain, and it's also, it's basically a pre-filtered. A lot of heavy dust will actually settle in that filter cap, and then it will come down here to the other filter. That just makes water, less easy to enter it. So, anyway, getting on a sidetrack on future plans. I got to get this motor in here and get it running first. But, yeah. Up next is honestly get as much of this coolant stuff out of the way as I can. Get any other wiring on it, on either side that's on it, get that out of the way. Once I get all the stuff up here out of the way, then I can move underneath and start worrying about the flywheel, flex plate, and, because automatic, flex plate, get in all the bolts in the starter, get all that stuff out of the way. So I'm going to rummage around under here, find any other, hoses or wires. Like there's a whole bunch of wires over here that go down here. The vacuum wires. This is the vacuum wires for the axle disconnect CAD. Not using that. That's already actually been blocked off. One of the first things we did because it didn't work. The vacuum, there must be a huge vacuum leak or something. The CAD wouldn't activate when it was in four-wheel drive. So I told him, you know, I did it, but I expect to explain. I took it apart, pulled the rod over, and locked the rod over in place. So the axle is permanently disconnected. And this is a temporary axle. I plan on getting a full shaft axle without that CAD disconnect, or at least getting a full axle shaft. Anyway, but not this time. I'm going to ride it the way it is. So I'm rambling again. Let me get with all this wiring. Alright, I don't know how well this is going to show up. I'm actually going to post this before the last post. Or I'm going to put this in the sequence before the last video I did, because I'm putting all the tools and stuff up. Oh, whoa, water. Here you can see the crack in the block. I don't know how well you're going to see it, but it goes from right there. Back there's the temperature sensor. Goes back. Here's the motor mount. It goes all the way back to that second, shoot. It goes all the way back to that second block plug. There's a block plug there for the coolant sensor, and there's a block plug there. It goes from that block plug all the way up to these extra mounts on the side of the block for different motor mounts and stuff like that. So that's over a foot. Over a foot, if not a foot. And the whole picture right there, it goes from that second peg all the way back there. So, yeah. It goes past the motor mount quite a bit of ways. So, yeah. Just thought I'd throw that in there so y'all can see the crack in the block. Alrighty. I think maybe, possibly, maybe I have all the wires off the motor and all the vacuum lines off the motor, possibly. This is the main harness that, nice. This is the main harness that goes to both the alternator, the starter, the coil pack, I think that's it. So this harness comes from here, it goes down there, the alternator, both the stud and the plug. The beetle. It plugs in right here on the motor mount. For the distributor, I say coil, distributor, for the cam sensor and the distributor, goes snakes behind the starter. I don't know what you could see. Snakes behind the starter. But yeah, it plugs in right here, snakes in behind the starter, and then it goes down, and then connects to both the lugs on the starter. There is a cable that I don't know where to put it. Oh, right here. It's a ground. It grounds right there against the block. These plugs are, you know, they don't look like they go anywhere. Connected to the motor. But there's another, here's more ground wires that ground to this stud right here with the dipstick. With the dipstick. It looks like those go straight down to the transmission, so I don't think I got to remove those. Took the power steering pump off. Just lay that over the side because I'd rather pull the motor without bleeding the power steering. And that's just bolt here. There's supposed to be a bolt here, but it's not there. And then 2 bolts here. You kind of have to almost completely remove the starter if you want to. Or basically, you have to take the belt off, remove the power steering pump as far over as it can. Usually, you have to take out one of these bolts. I had to do that on my 91, and you can move. I think take the bottom one out, not the top one, and you can move this way out of the way and get to this bolt right here. Otherwise, it's, you know, you have to take the whole assembly off. I already told you about removing this side, wiring. I removed all the heater hose coolant lines. I removed the tank. I removed the charcoal canister for the evap. Those are just self-tapped into the frame. They're 15/16 self-tap screws into the frame, and they go in right here. On this is like this. I don't plan on putting any of the emission stuff back on it. I want to eliminate as much vacuum as I can. I want to see if I can get rid of the EGR. That might be something I deal with later. I'm just, trying to get it as simple as I can when I put it together, so I don't gotta mess with anything. Oh, oil pressure switch. Oil pressure switch is also in this harness. If I didn't say that, I might have said it. Like I said, I think that's it. Oh, ground strap. Ground strap goes on the firewall. Don't forget that. Like I said, I think that's everything. I'm just kind of glancing. That looks like everything from the, wire-wise from the top side. Obviously disconnect the fuel rail. I don't think I showed you that, but just this bracket right here, the fuel line is right here. It comes up, it snakes under this, comes over and comes in. So you have to take this off, just take this off, it clips off. Take that bolt out, pull that bolt out, pull this out, and you can lay it over the side. I try to put all my bolts and nuts back if I can. Put my nuts and bolts back where they go if I can. And I also pulled out the fuel return line in the back. It's right there, connects right there. Like I said, I think that is all of the stuff that physically connects to the motor besides exhaust and the bell housing bolts and torque converter bolts. I think that's everything. It's almost 9 o'clock. I could keep on going. I don't have anything to do tomorrow. I could honestly, if I kept on going, I could take the whole motor out. If I wanted to. I've been working on this. Got up at 5:45 this morning. Went to work. Got off work. Went to Harbor Freight. Got stuck at Harbor Freight because I left my keys in the Sonoma. Had to call AAA. Got AAA to get me out with a Slim Jim. Though it is still basically a Slim Jim, but uses little airbag pumps to separate the door. So I did that. I bought the engine hoist or the engine stand. I bought the engine hoist last weekend. It's in the back of the Jeep. So yeah, I've been up since 6 o'clock. Been working on cars at work until 12 o'clock or so. Left there. Planned on being home I planned on being home at about 1:30, 2 o'clock at the latest. And then go inside, relax for an hour, then come out here. But that didn't happen. I didn't get out here till 5 o'clock because of all that crap. So the day is starting to wear on me. And I don't feel like crawling on the ground to get all the bell housing bolts and all that stuff. Not to mention it's dark. Yeah, I got the shop light. And I can take the shop light on the ground and do all that stuff. But, I got to pull the jack out here to pull the jack out of the garage through the grass, which is a pain in the butt because that jack's heavy. Jack up to support the transfer case. Yeah, the day's wearing on me. Support the transmission. And then not only that, and then I got to put together the engine hoist. Because even if I get the motor ready, I got to put together the engine hoist. And I got to put together that. But mainly put together the engine hoist. So I can get this out. But then if I get it out, where am I going to set it? I'm going to sit this one, I'm going to keep it on the stand. Or not on the stand, I'm going to keep it on the hoist. So I can swap stuff over from here to the high output. But the high output has to be on this. And obviously, it's not over here right now. So I gotta load that up, bring it over here, put the engine stand together, put it on the engine stand. And then when I pull this out, I can pull it out and put everything together. I don't want to pull this motor out and then just have to set it on the ground and not have, not have it prepared for anything. Rambling, but I'm hungry. I'm a little bit tired. And, yeah, that's where I'm going to leave it tonight. I'll probably, I might edit this video tonight, upload it. I might not. It's Saturday. It's either going to go up tonight or tomorrow, depending on how I'm feeling. When I first get inside, I'm just going to sit down and relax for a minute. And then I might feel like editing it and putting it all together. I might not. I don't know. So, yeah. Gotta get all these tools up and put it in the Jeep. I'm just going to leave all this stuff out on the ground. Hopefully the dog don't get into it. And, yeah. So, this is part 1 of removal of the engine, or removal of a Renix and putting in a high output, but yet running the Renix system. So, yeah, it's going to be a high output motor, high output block. Hopefully, I can still use a high output head, and then just swap the Renix manifold, swap the Renix header if it fits, because it does have that. It is different because it has the stupid EGR on it, so it is different. I can't just use the high output. I can use the high output manifold, but I don't have anywhere to attach it to, so I'd have to weld it. And I mean, I'm going to have to weld it anyway, but I'm going to cut the exhaust probably at the cross member back there. And, I'll just join them together and then get a piece of slit pipe and either weld it on or, it's only a trail rig. I might just clamp it. So, yeah. So, I will talk to y'all later. I might come out here tomorrow and mess with it. I'm usually fairly lazy on Sunday because I work 6 days a week. I'm off some Saturdays, but I haven't been off Saturday in months because we've been short. But now we got somebody again. I technically could have took Saturday off because we had 4 people there today. We only need 3. But yeah, might come out here and tinker with it a bit tomorrow. It all depends on how I'm feeling. So yeah,